Good morning, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Friday Morning at the Funhouse, otherwise known today as Ranking the Albums, today in the co-captain's chair. As always, every Friday morning, Mr. Martin Popoff. Good morning, Martin, on this bright,
Pete.
sunny New York day. Not a cloud in the sky after a day of rain yesterday.
Same thing here, but it's cold. So it's
like
it's
cold,
almost
how
like a
cold?
fall day here.
Really?
So,
like what,
yeah.
60 degrees?
60, maybe 70, something like that. I mean, it's still early, but we'll see what happens. But it did not get that warm yesterday.
Yeah, no, it was the same here yesterday. I don't know if it reached 75 yesterday, which, a couple days before it was upper 80s or 90. So a little bit different here, but I'm sure that heat's going to come roaring back, or we'll just get a cool August like we have for the last bunch of years. Seems like June and July are now the hottest months, and then August is like, all right, we're ready for fall. So we'll see. So for everybody watching, this is the program that you have asked for I can't tell you how long. Pete, when are you going to talk about kingsx? Pete, don't you like kingsx? Pete, you got to rank the kingsx albums. Pete, kingsx, what is wrong with you? So I finally decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to see what all the hubbub is about. I've had a couple kingsx albums throughout the last, 25, 30 years. They never really grabbed me, but I said, you know what? I just got to dive back into this band because I can't be the only idiot on this planet who doesn't get this band. Or maybe I am. I don't know. So I went out and picked up as many as I could. I had a couple of them. A lot of them are out of print, but I have spent lots of time listening to these. And I said to Martin 2 weeks ago, I said, I think I'm ready to do this. Are you with me? And he said, absolutely, because I know he's a big fan. So we've got 12 albums in total. We're going to rank them all the way back from number 12 to number 1. And I'm going to have Martin kick us off with his number 12.
All right. So my number 12, I am going with Please Come Home, Mr. Bulbous. This one right here came out in the year 2000. This is and my 11 you're going to see is kind of fits the same range. This is the quirky years for kingsx. This is when they did a lot of sort of not a lot of hooks, and the songs are kind of meandering and they're slow. And it starts off with Fishbowl Man, which is a really strange one to start out with. It's kind of avant-garde. It's got some of the Thai stuff. Well, actually, Doug sings Julia, but She's Gone Away as Ty, Marshmallow Field, Ty and Doug both singing. It's got some of that slow psychedelic Beatles thing that I talk about, which kingsx does quite periodically. Charlie Sheen, Pointless Proggy One, Smudge is pretty cool. But basically, this is a record that usually shows up low on kingsx lists. It's got that crazy title, Please Come Home, ... Okay, 3 dots, but no spaces between the dots, which is annoying. Mr. Bulbous, right? So yeah, just not a great album. 10 songs on it. Move Me and Move Me Part 2, produced by Ty. Just an obscure, quirky one. And just to mention quickly, I'll just get this out of the way now. In these quirky years, the albums are kind of lean a little bit towards the quirkiness of the Doug Pinnick catalog. So we've got Doug doing some solo stuff, and then he goes under the pseudonym Pound Hound. This is an amazing album, the first Pound Hound, and then the second one. So there's a lot of stuff that's kind of not lovable on this Doug Pinnick sort of catalog, but this is what you get out of when you're hearing kingsx that is annoying to you. It reminds you a little bit of the Doug catalog, like atonal and big, rumbling bass tones and a lot of rhythm. This, by the way, is an amazing band. The Pinnick stuff. Gales Pridgeon stuff. Pridgeon, yes, I keep thinking Pigeon, right? But this is very accessible and cool and heavy and awesome. So there you go. I won't go so long on every one, but I thought a little background there.
I'm also finding that I'm not loving the production on some of this era of stuff.
We can talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll just get it out of the way right now. As I've been listening to a lot of these albums over and over again, I'm almost thinking that this band has never been produced the way they probably should be. I don't really love the production on many of these albums, and I think it does them a little disservice, quite frankly. But we'll get into that as we go along. And what's up with that title? Please Come Home.
I can't remember what the story behind that is.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Very strange. But my number 12 is Manic Moonlight from 2001.
Yeah,
and I don't have a copy of that. That's their 9th album. Really weird album. Kind of sounds unlike any of the others. It's a lot of samples and loops and these funky grooves, a lot of mid-paced tracks. Believe is a good tune. That's good. Nice funky beat to that. The moody title track has those gorgeous 3-part vocal harmonies, which I will say is prevalent in all of their albums, and that is one of their great qualities. I mean, vocally, this band is pretty damn terrific. You got all 3 guys contributing, amazing. You got a tune called Yeah, which again, more funky stuff, a lot of funk on this album. Skeptical Winds I like, some good guitar solos from Ty on that. Jen is pretty soulful. This album has some moments, but overall, I find this album really messy and just way too experimental. And but you know what? You got to give them a little bit of credit, I think, for trying something a little bit different. Because I think if every album sounded the same, we'd be saying every album sounds the same. I just think that this is going off into places that don't really suit them too well. But you know what? They did it. They got out of their system, whatever. But to me, it's their least successful album.
Okay, I'll make a little point on that production thing. I mean, I think the general consensus with kingsx is that they had some great productions, but that's sort of, the productions were good to start with, and they got better and better through the Atlantic years, and then they started to go downhill. So you've got productions on these albums we're talking about now. There's a couple with Michael Wagner, but there's a lot of kind of self-produced stuff, and that's when it got a little raw. It was never like distractingly bad. It was just sometimes a little raw and a little basic. You saw Jerry's hi-hat opening up a little bit, the chords hanging a little longer, and Doug's bass getting dirtier, and the playing getting a little ragged and casual. Like they got a little bit like that, and that is the antithesis to what you got on the early albums, which were very highly professional and polished. And we'll talk about production as we go. But anyways, I agree. Next one for me is Manic Moonlight, number 11. This is the one known for having all those loops and samples, drum loops and samples. But the funny thing about the drum loops and samples is that they very weirdly and uncreatively kind of start off the songs with those, and then they kind of go away, and you don't really notice it. It doesn't stay distracting in most cases. I agree. Believe is kind of a funky, cool one. Manic Moonlight is just kind of noise. Yeah, is noisy and atonal. It's got one of these great pop ballads, False Alarm, with Doug singing. There's one of these Doug bassy ones, Static. Skeptical Winds is one of these comedic, strange, bullhorny kind of ones. You have to, even me as a big fan, you have to make notes to get straight on these, because they had that problem, not a problem, but they had that tendency, like the grunge guys, to have these short titles quite often that aren't very descriptive. The chorus doesn't pop into your head with some of these titles. So they have a lot of one-word titles with what they're doing. But yeah, so this is 2001 and the other one was 2000. And so this is their quirkiest, most obscure kind of period.
Yeah.
There you go.
Let's go ahead a little bit. 2003, Black Like Sunday. So this is re-recordings of songs that they never released and from older in the catalog, which is kind of cool. I like when bands do that. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. Johnny's like this big, long 11-minute epic, which got all sorts of jams. I like when these guys jam because I think Ty's a terrific guitar player and he, pulls out all the stops on that. Rock Pile's pretty heavy song. Finished has a catchy hook to it. Screamer, dark and heavy. Those are some of the good tracks. Overall, though, there's a lot of tracks on here. I find some of it kind of boring. There's a lot of effects on Doug's vocals in a lot of these songs, which sound a little weird. But like I said, a couple hidden gems on here. So as a kind of like rarities re-recorded set, it's not terrible by any means. Pretty decent. There's some good stuff on there.
Yeah, I think they did a good job of this. Well, actually, yeah, I started talking because it's my number 10 as well. So I'll just start talking about it. But yeah, I had it as my number 10 as well. Are you on 10 or 11? You're on
that was my number 11. You're
whatever.
on 10.
That was your 11. Okay, so now I'm on my number 10. So Black Like Sunday, as Pete says, this was a bunch of old songs re-recorded. The funny thing about kingsx is that they've claimed, in various interviews I've done with them before, to have hundreds of songs that not done anything with. And that just proves like why the songwriting is so good throughout this catalog. But this is older songs re-recorded, and it's kind of by fan request. When they were Sneak Preview or The Edge, these early bands that they went through, they were a Springfield, Missouri band and moved to Houston and all this. They had this odd sort of Christian rock past, playing with other artists. Anyways, what I like about this album is these songs sound a little adolescent and naive and a little power poppy. They don't have quite the complexity of the songs that you hear on the Atlantic Years albums. Dreams is like a reggae tune. Screamer is cool. Finished is like a 3/4 tune. Down, I think, is my favorite one on it. It's like a Doug sung ballad, one of these songs that should have been a smash hit. They have so many of these kind of big power ballady, mellow sort of songs that are really smart and have great chords, and they're all over the place. And these are the songs that I think, could have made this band super, super huge. I love the title track. It's a good, heavy, Sabbathy, but still poppy and melodic track. And it's put through the kingsx production mill of being, essentially powerful and heavy and raw. And, obviously they've re-recorded all these songs again. So yeah, I had it pretty low down the list as well, but I still get a lot out of it. I play it quite a bit.
You bring up an interesting point. Was this band ever promoted and marketed correctly? Because you mentioned like the kind of the power pop stuff that's on all these albums. Then you mentioned like the heavy Sabbathy stuff. Meanwhile, this band was always marketed like a progressive metal band. They don't sound anything like Dream Theater or Fates Warning or any of these other bands that would be considered progressive metal at the time.
Yeah.
And I think that there could have easily been hits that are not metal or hard rock at all on a lot of these albums. And why wasn't that worked on a little bit more?
Yeah, they really can't be categorized. I mean, you could almost put them a little bit with your Saigon Kick and your Extreme camp as well, and a little bit into the grunge camp as well.
Yep.
But the production was too good, and the vocals were too, those great harmonies. And then you've got Doug, kind of the African American Jimi Hendrix kind of soulful voice. Like he really reminds me of Jimi Hendrix a lot. So they had so many odd things going for them, and they could be Sabbathy and Beatles. They were often called, a cross between Black Sabbath and the Beatles, or Metallica and the Beatles as well. Metallica, Black Album, Load kind of era, crossed with the Beatles. Yeah, they had that going as well. So you're right. And then the other problem they had is they had to fight the whole Christian categorization early on, which ghettoizes a band into a box that is not a good box to be in,
right?
Because it will hurt sales, kind of thing. So they had to always kind of fight against that. They got asked a lot of questions about that early on, and they just were distancing themselves as much as they can.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, my number 10, Overtones from 2005. Their 11th album overall, produced by Michael Wagner. Wagner, and also their first album for Inside Out, which, at the time, 2005, Inside Out, one of the premier, progressive rock and progressive metal labels going. Pretty heavy album for the most part. Alone, Cruncher, Fly. It's got a lot of bottom end on this album. I kind of dig the production on this album. I think it gives them a little heft, which at times they haven't had. Big riffs, and those harmonies are all over the place on this album. I really like Bebop a lot. Open My Eyes, another pretty heavy song. Mud is pretty solid. I like Ty's guitar tone on this album. I think one of my issues with the production of a good chunk of these albums, he's such a good player. I don't know if he's ever been captured correctly. Like even on, which we'll get to, even on some of those earlier albums, which you mentioned have cleaner productions, he comes up with these gargantuan riffs, yet you want him to sound a little heavier. And then I find like some of the mid-period albums, his rhythm guitar work is very muddy. When he solos, he's got like all these effects on there. And I think he's just a fantastic player. And I just don't know if he's ever been captured like he should be, or maybe it's just my ears, I don't know. But the Overtone's solid album, a lot of songs on it though. It's a long album. A few of the tracks don't really go anywhere for me, but there's plenty of highlights on here. I think half the album really, really is very, very good. And the other half is decent, but I think it's just again, some of these albums, and we've talked about this a million times in this time period, like 1990 to 2010, really long albums that sometimes are 2 or 3 songs longer than they should be, but still Overtones, solid record.
Okay. You know, for someone who's not a longtime fan, you are really hitting this ranking. We're pretty close to what consensus kind of is on it. So,
Okay.
so yeah, kudos to you on that. I'm going with Overtones as well, and I actually just switched this at the last minute because I was doing a little more listening this morning, and I switched it with my other one. So this is number 9 for me. You know, I wrote the bio for this at the time for Inside Out, and I was hoping for more for it. You know, being produced by Michael Wagner. I'm not crazy about the production. I find the production a little bit muddy on it. And the other thing I don't like about it is I don't like some of these kind of like deflating, depressing chord changes on it, and it's kind of like sloggy mid-tone sort of feel. You know, that's the problem sometimes with bands that you really like a lot. This literally feels to me like the way I felt with AC/DC Rock or Bust. I love AC/DC to death, but then I'd hear a song, go, nope, don't like that one. Just don't like the writing decisions. Nope, don't like that one. Don't like that one. Well, I guess I don't like this album, right? You know, and I was depressed about it. You know, I wanted to love Rock or Bust because I love Black Ice, right? But no, I kind of feel the same way about this. What I really like about this is the song Fly. If is a really cool one. A cool kind of pop song. Open My Eyes. Go play that one again. Geronimo riff. They do a lot of Geronimo riffs, this band. And that is a clear example of that. They redo Goldilocks for no real reason on it. You know, a lot of the fans thought that was kind of pointless. That's like an early big classic. But yeah, Mud is pretty cool. That's kind of one of these big, powerful, you know, kind of ballads, but it's really like emotive because it sounds like it's about a pretty dark story, maybe like suicide. But Freedom is a cool one. That's one that Ty sings, and you know, he brings up a lot of cool stuff on that. Some religion on there. I think there's some abortion on that one as well. Honesty is Ty in one of his acoustic guitar songs. But yeah, I just found that about half this record, I did not like the songwriting. So there you go. Overtones.
My number 9, Please Come Home, Mr. Bulbous from 2008. Yeah. I mean, I kind of agree with everything he said. Not as heavy as some of their other albums, I think, but that's okay because I think they do the not heavy stuff pretty well. Fishbowl Man is a strange song, but it is pretty rocking. It's got some great bottom end. I think you know, we got to give credit to Jerry and Doug as being a really great rhythm team, and I think you hear a lot of that on this album. She's Gone Away is absolutely gorgeous. I think Jellyfish fans would love like a lot of their more poppy stuff. I mean, it just falls right in line with that. The 3-part vocal harmonies, that chorus, I mean, just a lovely song. When You're Scared is big, dark, and moody. I like that one a lot. Charlie Sheen is really quirky. It shows a different side to them. Bittersweet, Beatles all over that one, right? And I like the big 2-part Move Me. I think, you know, like I said, I think it's a solid record. It's not one of their best, but it still has some really good tracks. And despite the lack of heaviness on the album, I don't think that it matters much. It's decent. It's good material on here.
Cool. All right. My number 8, I went with XV or 15. I really like this record a lot. This one's really starting to grow on me. I love Broke. You know, it's got that quirky Doug kind of feel. It's quiet, but then it breaks into this big na 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 chorus. It's really, really cool. Don't like Blue. Don't like repeating myself at all. But yeah, Move is pretty cool, and that's very Doug solo-y. Love Pray, like just a really cool anthemic one that you know, kingsx has a really good good maneuver or technique in doing these songs that kind of crouch and then explode, that whole thing. And when they do explode, they've got these big anthemic choruses on it, and Doug's, you know, rich, experience-rich voice comes through. Go Tell Somebody is a super kind of like buried classic on this album. I think it's probably would be in my top 5 or 6 or 7 kingsx songs of all time. So go play that one. That's late in the album. It's technical, it's heavy, really, really cool song. Great chorus on that. Rocket Ship I really like as well. All Right I really like. So again, This one and Ogre Tones fit together. It's also a Michael Wagner one. So some of these go in pairs, like Bulbous and Manic Moonlight go in pairs. Black Like Sunday obviously is its own thing, but Ogre Tones and XV go as a pair. And I just think the songwriting is better on this, and it's more exciting, and it gets you more excited through the hookiness of the choruses.
Cool. Yeah, I like that album. More about that in a couple minutes. I do want to say, so one of the things that I had convinced myself, one of the reasons why I've been kind of pushing this band away for all these years, is I had convinced myself that I really never liked Doug's vocals. And one of the surprises for me in really diving into this catalog and giving it a whole other chance is I actually don't mind his vocals. I mean, I always loved Ty's guitar playing, and I like many songs, but I was thoroughly convinced that I just couldn't get into this band because of him. And I have found that, you know what, sometimes it's worth revisiting a catalog, and sometimes your early misconceptions may turn around a little bit. So, and it totally did in this case. So I'm glad I went and did this. So my number 8, 1996 is Ear Candy. Okay. So they're like Journey meets Grateful Dead album cover there, right? Got the interesting insect scarab, whatever. But really good album. The Train, great opener. These guys have a lot of really good openers. A lot of guitar textures from Ty on this album. Sometime rocks hard, it's kind of funky. Love Doug's bass tone on that track. A Box, kind of like a grungy, sounds like a mid 90s grunge track, but a really well done one. Mississippi Moon is pretty catchy. 67 is crunchy, got some good hooks, a lot of good riffs. Looking for Love, great song. Yeah.
I think Geronimo riff, that one. That's the other one I made a note of. Yeah. You can picture that one in your head or go replay it. Perfect example of that idea.
There you go. Yeah, they have a lot of good ones. Ty is a really good riff meister, I will say. But this is a very enjoyable album. This, for me, I think starts from here on in. All these albums for me are really, really strong. So,
okay. All right. My next one, I went with the debut, March 28th, 1988, produced by Sam Taylor, Out of the Silent Planet, which is a C.S. Lewis book, right? So there's kind of your Christian tie-in as well. So this to me is almost like their Cowboys from Hell, to keep it Texas. So it's kind of the slightly raw, slightly simpler, slightly still not completely cooked version of an amazing sound. With Pantera, obviously, it comes to fruition with Vulgar, and with these guys, it comes to fruition with Gretchen. But Goldilocks is an incredible ballad of theirs that's a very highly celebrated song, should have been a massive hit. Power of Love is heavy, Sometimes is cool. King is awesome. It's got the Christian overtones in that. Shot of Love is really cool on here. So this is the classic sound that they arrived at after being years in the business, and then just coming up with this, and it blew everybody away. It only got to like 144 or something like that on Billboard. But anybody who heard this album at the time, they were like, whoa, this is a completely brand new kind of music almost. It literally is that. It's like a Korn or a Pantera, or a Metallica for that reason, Kill 'Em All. Anytime anybody came up with a new kind of music, this certain, King Crimson in the 80s, right? Yep. This was literally a new genre onto itself. Nothing ever sounded anything like this band. So that was cool about it. Didn't sell.
And I guess that kind of tells you the quality of this catalog that we're going to be talking about going forward, that debut is ranking where it's ranking. I'm actually surprised. I expected it higher, but spoiler alert, it's going to be a little higher on mine, but that's okay.
Well, that's the cool thing about all these catalogs, right? It's not always about the debut. Often it is about the early stuff, right? But yeah.
My number 7, Tapehead, 1998, 7th album, Metal Blade Records. Man, how about that song Groove Machine? Woo!
Yeah, love that one.
What a monster. Again, another first song on the album that just blows your mind. Just groovy and pulsing and heavy, big riffs. Fade is a really memorable song. Ono, totally moody, beefy, love it. Cupid, kind of plodding song, kind of doomy, but really cool guitar work on that. Hate You has some great guitar work from Ty. World, fast-paced, funky, furious, great rhythms. Again, another one of those albums that I think suffers slightly because there's so much material on it. I think that the highlights are amazing. There's maybe 3 or 4 songs for me that don't quite work as well. They're a little one note, but I still think the album overall is really, really strong. Kind of don't like the album cover, but whatever. I'm sure they didn't bother to ask my opinion on that, but very solid record.
That's Brian Ames' Metal Blade Purple period. Remember, all the album covers were purple for a while.
Yeah, geez, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. And apparently this is Doug. Apparently, from what I read, this is actually Doug with actual tape wrapped around him.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay, my number 6, up to number 6, is Faith, Hope, Love. This is one that often comes quite high on people's lists for good reason. These are all pretty similar albums, although looking at what I've got here, actually there's 2 more to come on mine that are kind of outliers, I suppose, in terms of the personalities. But this fits right in with the golden period sound, the really kind of, well produced, meticulously well played, super, almost, I don't know how many tracks of guitars they do, but they have a lot of tracks on their guitars, and the vocals are very well thought out. Fine Art of Friendship is an amazing song on here. Talk to You, proggy heavy one, classic. Everywhere I Go is mellow. We Were Born to Be Love is again kind of proggy. And when I say proggy with these guys, well, it means a number of things. I mean, they can be pretty tricky with numbers of parts, time signatures, but often they'll put in these riffs that are pretty geometric, right? That have a lot of notes in them. Don't like Faith, Hope, Love very much. That's one of them meandering psychedelic Beatles things. Again, super long album with a lot of material. Legal Kill is Thai and acoustic, and it's got violin, which was kind of a hip thing at the time. But and it's got that title. I never can remember the order of these words: Faith, Love, Hope, whatever. Right? I always have to look it up. But so 1990.
FHL.
What's that?
FHL.
Yeah, exactly. And they've kind of broken the string of the album covers on this one. It's not a great album cover on it. So There you go, number 6.
Cool. More about that in a couple minutes. XV or 15th album overall, 12th studio album, 2008, the last thing they ever did. Really like this one a lot. I echo basically everything you said. Serious bottom end on this album. Great riffs. I mean, you got the opening banger, Pray. Again, all these opening tracks just totally grab you by the throat. Tremendous riffs on that. Repeating Myself kind of sounds like Porcupine Tree to my ears, which, 2008, Porcupine Tree still riding pretty high at that time. Rocket Ship, heavy, very melodic. All Right, nice fast-paced track. You got a weird kind of blues song for them, right? That song Broke. It's kind of strange, but not something they normally do. Move has some huge riffs, big, dark, and menacing. Stuck, another real kind of funky groove-laden track. Go Tell Somebody. For me, I like that song. Got some killer riffs from Ty on that. And I want to make mention of the bonus track on the CD, which is Lovin' Rockets, which I think is a tremendous song. So I like this. I've heard rumblings that they've been working on a new album for like a million years.
Yeah.
If the new album sounds anything like this one, I'm all in.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So my next one, we're up to number 5, is kingsx, the self-titled. This is a pretty cool album cover.
Yeah.
And there, you look at the guys in the back, different clothes and hairstyles along the way. Again, hard to market, hard to figure out what kind of band this is. They're almost like one of these creative kind of bands from, there's another shot of them there. It's Atlantic, right? They're another one of these kind of bands that is on the edges of grunge. and just creative. And the grunge guys loved kingsx. They like worship these early albums by them, right? But this kicks off with my favorite kingsx song of all time, The World Around Me. Just an incredibly well put together, proggy, heavy song, hooky as all get out. And just everything about it, they just sound like geniuses, right? Like just songwriting geniuses on it. The Big Picture's a ballad on here. Lost in Germany, I remember, was a bit of a hit. I think there's a video for that one. It was a single, yeah. Ooh Song, kind of too slow and lumbering. There's a Thai song in here, Not Crazy About, Not Just for the Dead. I earlier had this higher than Ear Candy, and I kind of did a bit of a switch. Black Flag was a bit of a known song about them as well. Dreams in My Life is a mellow Thai singing song. I earlier on in the 90s, I liked the Thai singing songs more, and now I like the Doug singing songs more. So it's an album that's got a few songs that really stand out on it, but then it's got a bunch, same thing as you were saying, like there's songs that just kind of rub you the wrong way with this band, but then the ones you love, you really love a lot. And this is in their realm of the really good productions where, things still sound expensive. They're on Atlantic Megaforce and that, right? People still think they're going to be superstars at this point. But so there you go, 1992, kingsx.
I like your comment about how all the grunge guys love this band, because quite frankly, you listen to especially the early stuff, I would think any fan of Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots will be all over these guys.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right. That's my pick as well for number 5. All right. 4th album. I agree with everything you said. This was the last album with Sam Taylor producing, if I remember correctly. The World Around Me, I echo your thoughts on that. Excellent song. I love Prisoner. The Big Picture's another killer track with a great vocal from Doug. Lost in Germany kind of has a Van Halen feel to me, right? He's got these ties playing all these little intricate riffs. It's pretty cool. I like how they, every now and then on all these albums, they would throw in something that's like completely different than what they've done before, which I think is cool. Chariot song is great. Not Just for the Dead. It's got that weird like sitar all throughout it. What I Know About Love is another good one, and Black Flag is absolutely tremendous. I mean, this is an excellent album for me. I really like it. I agree with it. Again, most of these albums have 11, 12, 13, 14 tracks for the most part.
Yeah.
And, I agree with you on probably almost all of them. You take off 2 and it's top to bottom so strong. But, they're not the only band that was guilty of doing that back in the day. So that's just, let's fill up that whole 75 minutes of the CD capabilities, right? Because we have the capability. Let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so my number 4, I went with Ear Candy. And this one's kind of gone up and down for me over the years. There's that shot of them sitting on the couch in the back. This is produced by Arnold Lanny, but I mean, they're not particularly different from the Sam Taylor productions. It's just again, it feels like they're kind of loosening up a little bit. Again, the hi-hats opening, for Jerry, you've got songs like Mississippi Moon, which is almost like a Southern rocking, lazy chord kind of song. That's different from what they were doing previously. Like any prog band, those prog guys, when you interview them, they talk about how they really wanted to impress everybody early on. And then later on, they got a little more abstract with what they did, and they put the ego aside and sort of loosened up. And to me, this feels like a little bit of a loosening up album. It's always felt like a little bit of a Thai album to me. I love A Box, great ballad. Again, it's another one of these that should have been a massive single for them. I mentioned Looking for Love being an excellent example of a Geronimo riff. Sometime is pretty funky. 67 is a slow and cool one, sung by Doug. Really love Run, killer bluesy. They do these songs sometimes that have this kind of tribal feel, but the chords are really good. And it just turns into this kind of exciting, rumbling, Sabbathy, heavy sort of song. So check out Run later in the sequence. Where is that one on here? Yeah, it is. It's a lot of songs in here. Yeah. 13 songs. So Run is song number 9. But yeah, that's a really cool one. It's doomy and poppy at the same time, which is a pretty odd thing to say, but kingsx actually pulls that off, which is crazy. Fathers is a great one about broken families. That's a cool poppy heavy one, but still again heavy. I think Jerry's Singing on American Cheese. Picture is another awesome one that should have been or could have been a smash top 10 single. That's the thing with this band. I mean, everybody says they're one of the biggest underrated bands of all time. They're the cliche pinup band for that, being called underrated. Yep. And quite a lot of that underrating is like, if Extreme could have a hit with more than words, these guys have songs that they have 10 songs that are 10 times better than that and are just as accessible and should have been massive hits, right? Because they could do full band and still sound accessible and poppy, right? So there you go. Ear Candy, my number 4.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, they're on Atlantic, right? And look what Atlantic did with Mr. Big.
Yeah.
Right. That they, that one track made that album huge, made the band huge. I mean, look what the Extremes label did with them. It's like, I just don't get why they didn't. That's why I said this band was never marketed or promoted correctly from the get-go, which is a real shame. Number 4, Faith, Hope, Love for me. Third album, another terrific record. We Are Finding Who We Are. I love the vocals on that. I love these vocal harmonies. It's Love, another great song, good hard rock track with all these great melodies and hooks. Fine Art of Friendship, good, moody. I like their moody stuff for the most part. Moan Jam, really good fast-paced track with some great drumming from Jerry Gaskell on it. Man, he's just playing up a storm on that. 6 Broken Soldiers, I Can't Help It, Talk to You, We Were Born to Be Loved. I kind of like the doomy psychedelic title track, but I like that kind of stuff. You got the weird like acoustic prog of Illegal Kill. I mean, the 3-part harmonies on this album might even be the best of all these albums. I don't know. It's kind of tough to say because, man, they're just like firing on all cylinders here. Yeah, this is a very, very enjoyable album. I dig it quite a bit.
Cool. All right. My number 3, I went with Gretchen Goes to Nebraska. So again, this is their vulgar display of power where, the sound has its sort of most exciting and revelatory kind of period where it's like, wow, we've perfected this sound that is completely all our own. And then after that, just like Pantera, you're kind of like settling in and doing reiterations of that sound, right? But this is the one that kind of everybody goes, this is the best of the golden period. It's got the huge classics on it. I mean, Out of the Silent Planet. So they did that cool thing where they do a Houses of the Holy on You, right? Where they've got a title track that's from an older album. And Summerland is sort of their biggest, most famous ballad. And it is one of those great, amazing ballads that should have been a big hit. But the biggest hit on this was Over My Head, which is that cool rockin' song with the weird little twisty riff and, the odd tunings, right? They definitely must do odd tunings as well, because they've got a lot of that kind of Moroccan prog fusion kind of feel to the tunings that Ty does. This has a lot of long song titles, but Send a Message is a great kind of anthemic one on here. Fall on Me is a cool, heavy, funky one. Mission is the one that's a little bit Tales of Brave Ulysses on this album, right? I'll Never Be the Same, Burning Down, full production. That's one of these heavy Thai ballad type ones. But again, this is where they're basically the light is shining down upon them, and they are really in that we're most excited about having this great sound that is all our own on record too. So there you go.
And that's the album that most proggers usually look at as this is the kingsx album.
Yeah,
I can't really argue with that too much, but more about that in a couple of minutes. Number 3, Dogman, 5th album. This is a great album. I bought this when it came out, and I obviously have upgraded my copy. I bought that little box set with it, has a whole bunch of them. Brendan O'Brien producing here, of course, pretty notable. He worked with a lot of big bands. I like the production on this album. It's really in your face. I mean, the production on this is way different than those first bunch of albums. But I like it. The title track is one of their best songs, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely love it. So crushing. Shoes is a great track. I love the chorus on Pretend. I mean, that's just, how can you not love a song like that?
Yeah.
I mean, Gaskell's drumming on this album is just so good. I like the kind of Robin Trower meets Pat Travers of Flies and Blue Skies. I mean, I know Ty, I think, is a big fan of both of those players, so not surprising there. Black the Sky, great track, but got a funky feel. Really cool. That could have been a hit. How about Tied Underside My Pillow, Willow Thundering. Man, is that a great song. Holy cow.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't imagine any fan of like Soundgarden or Alice in Chains from that same time period would not absolutely love that song and much of this album. Don't Care is another great track. I mean, just, man, Fool You, really great album. I would not be surprised if this is number 1 or 2 on many people's lists, including your own, because it's that damn good. But that just goes to show you how really strong the top of this catalog is.
Yeah. All right. So my number 2, Dog Man. So there you see the yellow version. This came out in, I think, 3 colors at the time.
Yeah, my original was that.
Yeah.
I got the remaster and it's red. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Changing it
as well. And again, love the production on this. Brendan O'Brien does an amazing job. It just super heavy, crushing production, which you hear like, what an album opening! Like, no, give me 50.
Man, those riffs, it's like total Doom riffs, but the song is not a Doom song, right?
So cool. And Doug's awesome, soulful vocals on that, and the lyrics are amazing too, right? Doug is, the lyrics with these guys can be pretty abstract, but they seem to be all about a lot of personal trauma and stuff. Like Doug's had a pretty hard life, right? And about his friends and stuff. There's some amazing songs he's put together, kind of about people he knows, right? But yeah, I totally agree on Pretend. Black the Sky. Just these big, heavy, rumbling, bluesy, Sabbathy things all over this album. This is probably the one I play the most. Among kingsx fans, there's a little bit of what they call the Dogman divide, where a lot of people do have this kind of lower on their list as well, but a lot of people have it pretty high on their list as well. So it can be a little bit of a love it or hate it album. I don't know if there's too many hate it's, but and with that cover, and with that title, Dogman, one word, and with a little bit of flannel on the back as well, and walking on some train tracks. It's all grunge, right? It's all, essentially they got a little bit accused of being late to grunge, or now they're reacting to those other great records that are coming out of Seattle. So it's like a mutual admiration society. And Brendan O'Brien, of course, was known as a pretty big, grunge producer at the time, just big producer, period. But yeah, an amazing record, and probably I would say their best produced record.
I would agree. Agree. And it's a very unique production too. Again, this band just sounds so different than anybody else, and they're just very unique sounding, and you hear it on this album. I mean, nothing sounds like Dogman. So my number 2, Out of the Silent Planet, their debut.
All right.
I love this album. I just think there's just some great stuff on here. I love the Beatles style harmonies all over the place on here, but there's these big, thick riffs all over the place in the new age. Again, another great opener that's got those wonderful harmonies, the 3-part harmonies, but those big, huge, intricate riffs. Absolutely love it. Goldilocks is a classic. Power of Love, love the vocals on that. Wonder is wonderful. Sometimes has so many great grooves on it. King, freaking love King. King is coming. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, it's just such a genius track. What Is This is great. Shot of Love is just absolutely breathtaking. I love the vocals on that. Visions, I mean, I could just go on and on and on here, but great guitar playing from Ty Tabor on here. He's a really special player that I think nobody ever really talks about. But yeah, I love this album. I think it's absolutely amazing.
Cool. Excellent. All right. So my number 1 choice, when we did we did a very early episode of our YouTube show, The Contrarians, on this, because I felt so strongly about it. kingsx Tapehead. There you go. Literally one of our first 5 or 6 shows, I think, was on kingsx. and love this album to death. It's the one after Dogman, so it has a little bit of that Dogman flavor to it. But this is when they are bumped off onto Metal Blade, which they were with for a long time. Oh No is just one of my favorite kingsx songs of all time. Like when that chorus kicks in, it sounds like the world's gonna end, right? It's just such a really cool, emotive, feeling, dramatic sort of song. Over and Over is another one of those great ballads. I think it's 3/4 time if I can picture it. So it's another one of those that could have been a smash hit. Groove Machine, just this big trundling opener on it. There's a few songs later on that I'm not crazy, but I love Higher Than God with that great chorus. Little Bit of Soul is a little bit when it aligned with the Pound Hound and the Doug Pinnick solo situation. So this one feels like a real Doug album. I think somebody said, I believe Doug might even sing every single song on this one, something like that. This might be that situation. Cupid is cool. You get to the big chorus on that. Fade is good on this. Hate You is kind of a funny, playful one on here. But yeah, I just like the big, heavy, kind of slow rawness to this. And again, they do a lot of that thing where they're not trying to give you the money riff or hit you with a hook all the time. They're saving it up for the chorus, which they do quite often. And those songs are not easy to love, but you play them enough time, you get into them because you are waiting for that big chorus. But yeah. Oh No is certainly a top 5 for me off this, and it's just spelled ONO. So it just like goes by, right? You don't even notice it, kind of thing. And you'll look at the track listing, you think, oh, what's that, right? But yeah, this so we're into that, 98, 94. Actually, this is the one after hang on, how does that work? Yeah, this is the one after Ear Candy, because that's 95, I believe. It doesn't have a lot of feel that goes with Ear Candy on it. It is more of a Dogman kind of thing. But again, it's I guess it's kind of in the spirit of them, moving down to an indie at that point. So it's a little raw.
Yeah, which is okay. Which is quite all right. My number 1, I'm sure no surprise, I'm going to hop on that bus down to Nebraska with Gretchen.
Yeah.
Their second album from 1989. Again, Out of the Silent Planet, another great opener. Just so good. Lush vocals, heavy riffs. Man, Over My Head is such a great song.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like one of the great like hard rock and meets funk tracks you'll ever hear. Summerland, just gorgeous track. Everybody Knows a Little Bit of Something is soulful. It's funky. Great Doug vocals. Great riffs from Ty. I love the difference. Really big with these lush acoustic guitars and whatnot. I'll Never Be the Same. There's another good heavy track on here. Fall on Me. Pleiades has these big, almost like epic Zeppelin-ish type of tones going throughout it. Don't Believe It, another great funky track. Send a Message. I don't know. For me, one great song after another, not a weak track on it. That is my number 1.
Excellent. Wow. That was epic. That was a lot to go through. And again, this is a real challenge because like I say, I mean, you don't really, you got to go back and play these songs because you often don't get, remember what they sound like from the title, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, no one really feels. I notice out there, no one really feels like a kingsx expert ever.
I can totally see that. I mean, I certainly am not. I certainly am not. Will I even be 2 years from now? I don't know. But yeah, it's a complicated catalog. It's not a huge catalog, but yeah, I'm glad I decided to do this because I think I obviously have been missing out all these years. So thank you, Martin, and everybody else who's been pushing me in this direction for so long.
Awesome.
So before I let Martin go, I did want to get his take on the passing of Dusty Hill, another great trio, another great power trio. And I know Martin's a huge ZZ Top fan, so I don't know. You have a couple of words that you want to say?
Yeah, that was really sad. I mean, one thing I noticed, and I said on Facebook, and I'm doing these interviews for these ITV documentaries over in Britain, and I had to do 3 hours on Judas Priest yesterday, and had to do some more on ZZ Top because I did ZZ Top earlier, and they asked me for some extra stuff for it. So I talked about Dusty for a good 20 minutes yesterday. But I found it very, seeing that he died at 72, you keep thinking with these guys with their old man image, oh, suddenly that sounds young to me, right? For a guy like that, right? And I know he had some health issues, and so does Billy, and so does Frank. I mean, I think, you know, they were kind of one of these bands that was slowly, you know, showing their age anyways, right? But yeah, one of the greats, and as I said yesterday in these ITV things, I wish, you know, number one, he's going to be remembered as one of the most famous rock stars of all time because ZZ Top was so huge and they had such a distinct look. And he was part of that 2-man look in the 3-man collective of it, right? The 2 guys up front who dressed the same and had the same beards and the sunglasses and the hats and all that. But I think, and one thing I want to mention again, which I always found interesting, when they had that big break after the worldwide Texas tour and before DeGueo and before the record label change, he went and worked at the airport. Right. He just became like a baggage handler guy, and he had his little nameplate on, and he said, I just wanted to be with normal folks, and I'd go have beers with them after. And he just threw luggage around or whatever it was he did at the airport as a working stiff for a while. So I thought that was interesting. And the last thing I think people really should remember Dusty for is his amazing vocals. What a great singer. I mean, he really probably is the better singer in the band between the 2 guys. There was always that little bit of Fred Turner, Randy Bachman thing with Randy and Billy being the fragile, almost naive adolescent sort of voice in the band, and the other guy being the big, the big hauler, the guy swinging a pool cue around in a bar fight, right? He's got that great voice. He's the lead singer of their biggest hit ever, Tush. He's the co-lead singer on Heard It on the X and Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers, and just seeing those 2 guys in action doing that dual vocal thing and their choreography and stuff, just magic rock and roll moments. He's definitely one of the beloved guys in all of rock, and he'll definitely be missed.
Yeah. One of the cool things, I mean, I did a tribute here on the channel the day he died, and I'm amazed at how many people are turning out to watch that. But I think it's a testament to not just him, but that band. They kind of transcend all genres. It's like almost like it doesn't matter what type of music you generally listen to. It's like almost everybody is at some form or another a ZZ Top fan.
That's really interesting. I never thought of that. That's a really cool idea.
Yeah. And I mean, I just bought tickets to see them in September, and I'm like, now is that going to happen? What's it going to be like if they decide to finish out the tour with someone else? I mean, it's almost like, I mean, this lineup has been together for so long. It's like you can't envision it any other way. Right. But
I saw the footage of Elwood, though. He looks like a pretty cool dude. So
yeah. Okay. Well, it's,
I think his name's Elwood. He was a guitar tech, right?
Yeah.
There's just a little bit of footage online, and I thought, yeah, pretty cool guy. I think he'd be cool in that role.
Is his beard long enough though?
I think he had a fake beard on. I think it was just like a comedic fake beard sort of look.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I didn't look that closely, but yeah, if it's him, and Billy's got some amazing guys in his band too, right?
Yeah.
You reviewed that thing, right?
The new album is really good.
That was great. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Yeah, that druggy song or whatever, the big single on it, that thing's just a classic. It's just an amazing song.
Sounds like a ZZ Top album in a big way, as opposed to some of his other songs.
What is it? Junkie Moving to the West Coast or whatever it's called. What is that song called?
Something like, I forget the exact title.
Yeah, what a great song. What a killer tune. Yeah.
So we'll see. And apparently they had another album in the can, right? I mean, that they were getting.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I heard that they were working on another material. So I don't new material. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, it's a lot of losses lately, which is getting kind of tired of hearing this stuff. But
and in typical weird, mysterious ZZ Top secretive fashion, it's like, oh, Dusty's been sent home with a hip injury or something, right?
Yeah.
And then this happens, and we don't really know what happened, right?
Yeah. And prayers out to Gary Rosington also, who's having trouble.
Well, he's been in pretty ill health with his heart for years.
Yeah, right? I'm amazed that he agreed to do this tour, to finish up this tour. I mean, it just doesn't seem to be the smartest thing to do, but we'll see what happens, right? So anyway, everybody, thank you for watching. We greatly appreciate it. Martin, what's happening? Anything new on the Contrarians and on your podcast that's coming up?
Contrarian. Oh, yeah, I did a funny Contrarians thing that's probably going up today. I rated 20 of the not so great Hypnosis album covers.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah. So did that. And we did Contrarians, a regular episode where I picked my first or my favorite Cheap Trick album, All Shook Up. So we had that go up. Marco did a solo show on Black Sabbath. That was pretty cool on contrary single picks. So that was kind of cool. Other than that, just writing away. And I got to thank you for the review of the Heap book. That was pretty cool. Got some interest out of that. So shipped a few of those out. Hurting my back carrying a big milk crate full of
those are heavy.
Books.
Well, just think we'll do the same thing with the Nazareth in the not too distant future.
Yeah, that's coming in soon. Yeah. And the yes at the same time. So yeah, very cool.
All right, everybody, there you have it. Ranking the albums of kingsx in the comments below. Please rank them as you like them. It'll be interesting to see what everybody comes up with. And I want to thank Martin for not only pushing me to do this, but also with helping out doing this ranking. This was a lot.
I haven't been pushing you at all. It's been all in the comments, people pushing.
I know, but you made some nice suggestions here and there because I know you're a fan and you said a lot of good things about the band. And I was like, between you and Butch Jones and the comment, the viewers, I was like, screw it, I'm going to do this. And I'm glad I did. All right. Doesn't mean I'm going to go out and, dive in headfirst to all the Clash albums tomorrow, but, Speaking of, I'm gonna announce it right now. So we've got a brand new show coming up on the channel that'll be starting a week from Sunday. I believe we're going to be featuring these every Sunday. It's going to be called Album Homework Assignment, and this idea was created by none other than Jamie Laszlo. So basically,
legend.
What's that?
Legend out there, Jamie.
The legend, yeah. Jamie Laszlo, right? The guy who knows a lot about blood, let me tell you. If Martin doesn't know what I'm talking about, go watch our Brian De Palma episode that we did with Mike Portnoy. But basically what this show is going to be, it's going to hopefully be a weekly show. I'm going to take, each week is going to be 2 Sea of Tranquility personalities that are going to get together. They're going to give each other an album homework assignment of an album they've never heard before, that the one who's giving it to them thinks pretty highly of, and it's got to be something that the other person has never heard. They're going to get a week. Each one is going to get a week to go and listen, digest, take notes, and be prepared to talk about the album that they've been given the assignment on. And then in most cases, I'm going to moderate, and we're going to get these 2 folks on the Zoom. They're going to talk about their assignments, what they liked about it, what they didn't like it, get questions from the other, so on and so forth. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. And just to make it even more exciting, Martin and I are going to go head to head doing one of these, maybe on the 2nd or 3rd episode. So we're going to get probably Jamie to moderate that one. He doesn't know that yet, but that's what he's going to do. But the first week is going to be Jamie and Rick Labonte. So that's coming up a week from Sunday. They've already figured out the albums that they're assigning each other, and they're busy listening to them. So that'll be coming up a week from Sunday. So stay tuned for that every Sunday going forward. And I'm looking forward to Martin and I exchanging assignments here, because that's I figured we would have to do that at some point, right? So that's coming up. So stay tuned. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. I want to thank Martin for once again helping us out here on Friday. He's here every Friday morning, so stay tuned for more of us together at the Fun House. For Martin Popoff, I am Pete Pardo. Have a good weekend, everybody.